Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about everything we need for a small beading project like this one. First thing you need is a piece of hard felt. You'll be beading onto this one. It can be found at the dollar store. And then you need a piece of soft felt for the backing. Of course you need needles. My favorite is size 15. And then you need some beading thread. And then of course you need some beads. You'll need a pin if you want to make it a pin, and a glue gun to glue the backing on. When measuring out your thread, you can use the length of your two arms and cut that length. Then the next thing we do is thread our needle. Then the last most important piece is tying a knot on our string. You can tie with both ends of the string and make one knot, but I prefer to tie just one end of the string because if you make a mistake, it's easier to go backwards and to unknot it. So we want to tie 2 to 3 knots in the very same place. This helps keep our piece secure. And after that, you are ready to start beading. Now we'll learn how to bead these tiny flowers. First, make sure your thread is on the needle with one side with a knot and the other without a knot. We'll put our needle through for our first flower, put it through the back wherever you would like your first flower to be placed, and pull the needle all the way through. The knot should catch. Now you'll pick up one bead, and you're going to take that bead down your thread all the way down to your felt and place it on your felt. Then you will sew right beside that bead to the back. Bring your needle and your thread all the way through. Now you will sew back up, also right beside your bead. Next, pick up 7 beads for your petals and bring it all the way down to your felt. You will start to form a loose circle in order to put your needle through your very first blue petal bead. You will then hold the beads and the string so that you can pull and form a little flower. Then sew right beside that thread. Welcome to part 2 of beading these tiny flowers. So we just finished up sewing on the outside of our last flower, putting our needle through and pulling it all the way. So what we do next is put our needle up through the center of our flower. So the needle is coming up between a yellow and a blue bead. So you can see our flower is still loose. So what we're going to do is sew in between each petal on the outside of the flower. When we pull our needle all the way through, we come up again through the center of our flower, and then we sew on the outside of another petal. We do this over and over again until when you look at it from the side, you can see that there is a thread in between each petal. You can also feel your flower and make sure that the beads don't move. When your flower is secure, you can come up in your next spot for your next flower. Once we have finished all our flowers, we want to cut out the circle. So when we cut, make sure not to cut any threads on the back. Once our circle is cut out, we will get our next thread ready, tie our knot, and thread the needle. To bead the outside of the circle, we will put the needle through the back of the felt again as close to the edge as possible. We will pick up 5 beads and then bring it all the way down to the felt. Next, hold your beads tightly and put your needle beside your 5th bead. Bring the needle and the thread all the way through. They should look tight like this. Now we flip it over and put the needle halfway through those 5 beads. Pull the needle and the thread all the way through. Next, put the needle through the last 3 beads. Then after that, we just pick up 5 more beads and do this over and over again. When we finally get to the end, we'll want to make a knot in the back. Make a knot 3 or 4 times to secure your beadwork. I will now show you how to apply the backing to your project. First, we need to sew our pin onto our backing. You could also sew a hair tie or a hair clip if you wanted to wear it in your hair. I will show you quickly how I sew this pin. First, I make sure that I make a knot in my thread, and then basically I just go in and out of the 2 holes of the pin, probably about 10 to 12 times until it finally feels secure. Once I've gone through enough and the pin feels secure, I will make a few knots in the back to make sure that the thread stays in place. Now finally, we glue our beadwork onto the back. When we do this, we want to make sure it's in the center of that pin or hair tie or whatever it may be, and then let dry. We will now learn how to do 2 types of edging. First, cut your backing to match the rest of your shape. Grab your threaded needle with a knot on it and sew it from the back to the front on the edge of your piece. You will then pick up 2 beads and bring it down to your edge. Next, measure 2 bead lengths away and sew right beside that second bead. You will then come up the right of your bottom bead, down the top of your left bead and again up the bottom of your right bead. After this, we only need to work with one bead at a time, so we pick up one bead and sew it through the felt. Bring your needle up through that bead and continue until completed. If you would like to try a fancier way of edging, you can pick up 2 beads instead of 1 and sew through the felt, and then you only come up through the bottom of the very right bead. Do this over and over again until complete. When we have made our way around the entire circle, the last step is to tie a few knots in the back to ensure that our beadwork does not fall apart. Your project is now complete!